What's going on, folks? Welcome to Kick Weekly with Tim Wheaton, the weekly kickboxing podcast covering all the latest fights and news in the world of kickboxing. This weekend, we have three major events that we are going to be looking at and covering off. We have one Friday Fights 58 with Superbond and Murat Grigorian. Also, Jonathan DeBella is going to face Prajanchai. We also have Nongo against Kulabdam. Additionally, on one Fight Night 21, you have Rishi looking to defend his crown against the undefeated Alexis Nicholas. Plus, this weekend is the RWS Super Fight with the Raja Damnern Stadium Bantamweight title on the line with Kumandoi versus Khunsueklek. So, each one of those fights that I just talked about, I've already covered elsewhere. This is one of the problems of doing so many things. If you're curious about the RWS Muay Thai fight, I really encourage you to check out the video that I uploaded yesterday, Tuesday night, that covers the context of where this fight ranks, the story of both men, and the style of what both men bring. So that'll give you the entire context of why this fight is so important. And this fight is coming up on April 6th. And again, this is a very big fight in the history of Muay Thai and a very important fight in the history of Muay Thai. But I have covered it already, so make sure to check out that preview video. Now, for the ONE Championship cards, all the fights there, plus the announcement of Jonathan Haggerty facing Superlek, we cover all of these on the show in which I was featured with Kyle Diamond last week. So Kyle and I really broke it down from all angles. The fights themselves, the fight announcements, all that sort of stuff. We really broke down and had a great discussion on. So I'm not going to retread things that I've already talked about, in all honesty, because it's just disingenuous of, like, if you bring me in for an interview, imagine you bring me in for an interview and I say all these great things, and then on my show, again, I'm just going to say all the same thing. So I'm just going to put the show that I did with Kyle Diamond down below in the description. If you are curious about the ONE Championship fights and the ONE Championship announcements, that entire breakdown I've done with Kyle Diamond, so make sure to check that out. So that's ONE Champion. Audio listeners, the same thing. It will be in the description there. On YouTube, it will be down in the description. So same thing again of just like we had a very in-depth discussion. So make sure to check out the Superbond versus Murat Grigorian fight. We both did pick Superbond quite dominantly. It's just a matter of, like, it is just a question of we both did pick Superbond, and it's just a question of how dominantly he's going to win. I just think it's a style thing. Jonathan DeBella versus Prajanchai is probably the most important fight of Jonathan DeBella's career, and by far the most challenging fight of his career. Prajanchai is an incredibly skilled fighter in Muay Thai who just looks so fast in kickboxing. Nongo versus Kulabdam, two people who are both in a must-win situation to prove that they're not over the hill, but I do suspect that they're both a little over the hill. Rishi against Alexis Nicholas of France, who is undefeated. Rishi probably defends his title, no problem there, especially over 5 rounds where Alexis has seemed to slow down. RWS Muay Thai for the Raja Damnern Stadium Bantamweight title. Make sure to check out the video I did on it. It was a very, very good video. And that'll be on April 6th on DAZN, or if you are in Thailand, it will be on YouTube. The Bantamweight title will be on the line. Khunsueklek is 18 years old, and he's like a wonderkin of Muay Thai, unbeaten for the last 5 years. He's on a 39-fight win streak, really known for his combination kicks, his impressive clinch work. Kumandoi is a very impressive kickboxer and Muay Thai striker, really focused on outside kicks, outside roundhouse kicks, and switch kicks. This will also be the first super fight in RWS history, so a 500,000 baht bonus will be on the line for the winner of this match. If there's a knockout, that person will also earn another 500,000 baht on top, so potentially 1 million baht to be won here. If no knockout occurs, 500,000 baht for the winner and another potential 250,000 baht each if the fight is exciting enough. So it's a really exciting time. And my understanding is that RWS will be doing another super fight later on in April, but they have not announced who that will be between just yet. But Kumandoi and Khunsueklek, my suspicion is that the winner will then fight Nadaka Yoshinari, and it will be a champion versus champion. I'm not sure which weight class it will take place, but it will be a champion versus champion matchup. All right, let's get to the stuff that everyone wants to talk about because, again, I did cover most of these fights already on a preview video. Make sure to check that out. The link will be down below in the description, or I've already talked about it with Kyle Diamond. So make sure to check out his show. Again, the link will be down below. So let's talk about the monkey gang wars going on in Thailand right now. And yes, I will relate it back to combat sports towards the end of the story. The city of Lopburi is well known for its macaque monkeys. These are traversing on the streets, traveling the streets. They often attack locals for food, but they especially target tourists to rob them or steal food from them or whatever it might be. This city, Lopburi in Thailand, is now undergoing a monkey gang war in which there are thousands of monkeys going to war against each other. And in that, the leaders of these monkey gangs have in fact been apprehended and arrested, and other of the high-ranking members in the monkey gangs have also been arrested. There are even hierarchy charts of these monkey gang wars that have been published online. Gang wars is almost the wrong term for what it is, that it is just like a military army war more than it's just some gang war. This is the write-up from Yami on Twitter. The city of Lopburi is experiencing unprecedented violence between two monkey gangs. Authorities have been mobilized to quell the chaos and are currently attempting to relocate the primates. Local authorities successfully apprehended one of the gang leaders, I Crow, using a tranquilizer gun. Upon his arrest, cries could be heard from his subordinates. On the second day, 7 individual monkeys were arrested. Locals responded by saying, "Is that it? There's 1,000 of them." Authorities reiterated that the monkeys' familiarity with firearms and their ability to interpret human body language pose challenges in apprehending them. So they're trying to use tranquilizer guns to stop the monkeys, but the monkeys know what the tranquilizer guns look like. So now they're having to run. My understanding is that authorities are now using slingshots to just not hit monkeys. You're not aiming for them. You're just trying to make enough noise, like by shooting something at the ground, essentially, to make enough noise to scare them off. A hierarchy chart has been published showing yellow as Crow's group and green as Yak's group. A citywide monkey hunt is underway to capture the remaining leaders, aiming to temporarily quell the violence and provide authorities with additional time to address the broader issue. So if anyone has ever been to Lopburi, they can certainly tell you that the monkeys are a bit of a nuisance there. It is part of the draw of like why you go there. Similar to in Japan, why you go to Nara Park and places like this. The deer are very cool to see. They're a wild animal that live there who are partially adapted to life with humans. But it seems like in Lopburi, unlike the deer in Nara Park, the monkeys are not chill at all. And I think anyone who's been to Lopburi can probably tell you stories about their phone getting stolen or them getting attacked because they had Doritos or a fruit cup or whatever it might be. Monkeys are very aggressive there. And also, this is continuing from what Yami said on Twitter. In March 2020, a Lopburi monkey gang took a 2-hour train journey to Nakhon Sawan and back again in order to search for food, where they also fought and dominated the local monkey population there. So the monkeys are smart enough to take the train somewhere else, attack the monkeys, and then travel back home again. According to the Pattaya Mail just today, a group of monkeys have swarmed on a pickup truck that was carrying 2 crates of mangoes and another 2 crates of green mangoes while it was stopped at a red light. But I understand, like fresh mangoes from these countries, if someone just drove by in a truck full of ripe mangoes, I too would swarm the truck with me and my friends and take all the mangoes that you have. And that is a threat. If you ever show up around me with a ripe mango, you are sharing it with me. That is my ripe mango now. So I relate to the monkeys in this case. I do fully understand where they're coming from. So this truck driver did lose most of his mangoes to the monkeys. The majority of the mangoes belong to the monkeys now. I think the first Western news website to publish it was the Daily Mail, and they wrote, "Rampaging monkey gangs are terrorizing the Thai tourist town, causing cops to arm themselves with slingshots and tranquilizer guns to combat the dangerous primates." Officers said that they have come under attack from aggressive macaques in the town of Lopburi, about 90 miles north of Bangkok, which has become notorious for its out-of-control monkey population. The local police station has now issued wooden catapults that officers can use to fire at the unruly primates, which often climb over cars and steal food from shops and tourists, as well as vandalize property. I think these monkeys were a major problem during the COVID lockdown as well, because they were attacking more frequently, because I think there was less food, like less people were visiting, so they had to attack markets and whatever else. Footage shows 2 police officers riding around Lopburi on a motorcycle with the one on the back drawing the slingshot and launching small stones at the dangerous primates. The move comes as Police Major General Apiak, commander of the Lopburi Provincial Police, ordered to establish a special unit to combat the aggressive wild monkeys. The police chief said, "I am aware of the potential danger from the monkeys. They have started to pose a threat to tourists and locals. The slingshots now being carried by officers will help threaten the monkeys when necessary. In most cases, they only need to use the slingshot as a deterrent, as they don't use objects to actually strike the monkeys. They're just threatening, essentially, not actually trying to hurt them. We have to hide our faces and conceal the tranquilizer guns so the monkeys couldn't see them." So yeah, monkeys can recognize the police officers essentially and recognize what a tranquilizer gun is. And of course they'll run away, but they'll also run up buildings where humans are. And you're not going to shoot a tranquilizer gun into an area where humans are. According to Business Today, there are something like 3,500 monkeys that have invaded the town aggressively. So these are not monkeys that just hang out and have fun. 3,500 aggressive monkeys in these gangs. And that is actually pretty wild. It's kind of a funny story when you first read about it. And then as you read more about it, you realize this is like super scary. Like if those 3,500 monkeys lived in your neighborhood, you would go grocery shopping and get mogged by monkeys. Which sounds better when you think of life as like Looney Tunes. Like if you're picturing Looney Tunes monkeys attacking you, that sounds super cute and super adorable if you live in a cartoon universe. But if you live in the real world, it sucks. The most recent update on this says that they have now put together plans to begin. This is just a couple hours ago. 2 hours ago, their most recent updates came out. The monkeys frequently try to snatch food from humans, sometimes resulting in tussles that can leave people with scratches and other injuries. Outrage grew in March when a woman dislocated her knee after a monkey pulled her off her feet in an effort to grab food, and another man was knocked off a motorcycle by hungry monkeys. So here's the plan. Is that there is some wildlife reserves around for some of these monkeys, and then there are going to be cages within the city for other monkeys, is my understanding. Because obviously Lopburi actually does want to keep a lot of these monkeys around because it's such good tourist. People visit the city for these monkeys, and they've been there for thousands of years. The monkeys have been there since before the humans were there. Authorities hope to round up 2,500 urban monkeys and place them in massive enclosures. The Director General of the Department of National Parks, Wildlife and Plant Conservation said that they'll work with wildlife experts to find a way for limited numbers of monkeys to stay at liberty within the city. Quote, "I don't want humans to have to hurt monkeys, and I don't want monkeys to have to hurt humans." So there has been an official monkey catching campaign was launched this week, prioritizing the most aggressive alpha males. It has so far caught 37 monkeys, most of whom have been placed under the care of wildlife authorities in the neighboring province of Suraburi, while the others were sent to the Lopburi Zoo. Officials say that they plan to capture the rest of the monkeys once the enclosures are actually complete, because right now they don't really have the proper enclosures to lock up 1,000 monkeys. Like separate cages will be prepared for different troops of monkeys to prevent them from fighting. Of course, there's different gangs. They said it will begin within the next few weeks and able to contain thousands of these monkeys. So how does this relate to combat sports? Well, the Lopburi region has a form of Boran called Muay Lopburi. Muay Boran was the ancient form of Muay Thai before things were formalized, before things were set exactly with what rings were, rounds, gloves, rules, that sort of thing. Muay Boran was the era before then, where there was several different styles of Muay Thai with differing rules on like what you could actually do, the different rules on gloves, different rules on rings and rounds and that sort of stuff. So Muay Thai was the formalized version of Muay Boran. So with Muay Boran, you could travel region to region and compete under very different rules. Even some of the regions had submissions and types of ground fighting. But Muay Lopburi was one of the more famous styles of Muay Boran, as it was a lot of the style developed through Muay Lopburi was meant to mimic the monkey style, was meant to mimic the monkeys that lived in the region. Quick feet combined with tricks make experts believe that this martial art was inspired by the thousands of monkeys who inhabit the city of Lopburi. To be an expert in Muay Lopburi, a Nakmoi must have fast hands and feet. And this is also why Buakaw and fighters from this region include an arrow in their Y crew. Let me just read it. I wrote this last year, but let me just read it. According to legend, an avatar of Vishnu, Rama, famously loosed an arrow into the mountainside, flattening it. This was the founding of the city of Lopburi. At the center of the city is a pillar, a shrine named Luxon Shrine, which is said to be the arrow that Rama initially sent. Rama, a Hindu god and an avatar of Vishnu, is named Pharam in Buddhist Thai text. So that's why the city of Lopburi was apparently founded around one of the Hindu gods loosing an arrow. And that's why someone like Buakaw and other fighters from this region use the arrow loosing motion in their Y crew ahead of matches. The move in the Y crew is called Fra Rama playing Sorn, which translates to Rama shooting an arrow. Legend has it that in 675 AD, a hermit named Sukatanta developed the martial arts school by the name of Khao Samor Khan in the city of Lopburi. Sukatanta was a Ruezi monk, which means he was a monk that had reached enlightenment through meditation. It is said that Ruezis had healing powers and were herbal experts and could see the future and knew the secrets of hand-to-hand combat, among other powers. Mentions of Ruezis are found in both Buddhist and Hindu texts and will be sometimes referred to as rishis. Sukatanta would teach Muay Lopburi, the style of martial arts, to the king of the Sukhothai kingdom, Ram Kamheng. King Kun Nam Muang of the Phao kingdom also studied at the Khoi Samor Khan martial arts school as early as the 1200s. So the reason this matters is because when we're tracing the history of Muay Thai, we don't entirely know exactly when it starts. Yes, the formalized form certainly started 100 years ago, we could say. It's very easy to point for that. But martial arts in Thailand date back to legends in 675 AD from monks. And then there are written records in the 1200s of kings learning in that same kind of line of monks teaching at this school. And that's kind of the earliest records that we have of martial arts being taught in Thailand. And it is also thought, so these Ruezi monks or Rishi monks traveled from what is today India and traveled east and taught martial arts to all of Southeast Asia, and even as far as Indonesia and the Philippines. They all have a similar style of martial arts that it maybe isn't popular today as like as Kun Khmer is, or Muay Thai is, or some of the other Southeast Asian ones, but they all had a form of martial arts combat that look very similar to each other, or use a similar baton or use similar moves, because it's thought that these Rishi monks didn't stop in Thailand. They kept going east as far as the Philippines. So for example, in the Philippines, there is Eskrima, the deadly martial arts of the Philippines. And I'm going to talk about this a little more. This doesn't have anything to do with monkeys. So pre-colonial Philippines, most of the history has actually been lost. So we don't entirely know what exactly was going on. But today in the Philippines, there are lots of cockfighting rings. And you see these fights even on television, and people advertise like supplements for your chicken and stuff like that on TV. But it is actually thought that those same rings and arenas where there are cockfights today were probably human fights in the past that were outlawed when the Spaniards took over. So I'm just going to read some of the stuff here that maybe people didn't know about Filipino martial arts that were likely influenced by Rishi monks. With the Spanish conquistadors, religions, languages, cultures, and histories were lost and destroyed. Similarly, the martial arts Arnis, Eskrima, or Kali had its pre-colonial history lost as well. Many believe that the base of Kali could have come from various regional travelers. Much of the forms of Arnis, Eskrima, and Kali can be found in other martial arts throughout Southeast Asia. The fighting form utilizing two sticks or a staff was believed to have originated in ancient India through the combat sport of Silam Bam. Silam Bam will also influence some forms of Muay Thai that use weapons as well. I do forget the name right now. Oh, Krabi Krabong, right there. This fighting art was spread by Indian traders to much of Southeast Asia, including Thailand, which is believed to have led to Krabi Krabong. Many believe that Salat can draw its origins to Silam Bam as well. Prior to the Spanish conquest of the Filipino Islands, this area had thousands of languages and differing cultures. These islands would often war and raid one another. The constant neighborly warfare created incredibly strong warriors. So yeah, the Philippines, a lot of people from outside don't know that it's thousands of islands or hundreds of islands with thousands of languages. They were essentially forced to be one country by outside forces. They have a history of fighting each other. It would be like if you had Southeast Asia with Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, just forced to be one country. It's almost exactly the same thing. They have different histories where they're warring each other, different languages, even different religions pre-colonially. In 1521, Spanish explorer Ferdinand Magellan held an expedition and eventually found his way to the Mactan Island, which was led by Lapu-Lapu. The Spanish were looking to spread the word of the king and Catholicism. They were armed with guns and steel armor. Using various weapon types and training in the martial arts, such as swords and bamboo sticks, the Lapu-Lapu warriors fought off the Spanish and slaughtered many during this battle. Due to this victory, the warrior chieftain Lapu-Lapu is still celebrated in Filipino culture to this day. It is believed that his warriors were trained in Eskrima. If you don't know what Eskrima is, if you're not 100% certain what Eskrima is, Nightwing from Batman, Dick Grayson, uses Eskrima. And you may be sitting there thinking, why is this dork on a podcast just reading from some news article? It's my article. I wrote this. I wrote this last year. The people of the Filipino Islands earned a reputation for their fighting fierceness. Often these warriors would be hired by foreign nations to work as mercenaries. Siam and Burma were frequently at war and would often hire mercenary armies from Luzon and elsewhere in the Philippines. Malacca also hired Filipino warriors to fight the Portuguese at various points in history. So that's the stuff that we know, but we lost so many records that we don't know. Like, it sounds like the Filipino warriors were extremely well respected and feared because of their martial arts roots and were hired as mercenaries for other countries. But again, a lot of this history was lost. The Spanish governor Francisco de Sande wrote how incredible the Filipino people were at combat. He wrote, "They killed the Spaniards so boldly that without our guns, we could do nothing." And those fractured island stories are also important for the Spanish conquistadors, is because they apparently didn't quite understand that those were not united as they expected, or maybe we were told or misunderstood more likely. So someone like Magellan was killed. Apparently, it's written that he was invading this island and was trying to spread Catholicism and the king. It's more likely that he understood that because he had an agreement with this king, that island was also under Spanish rule. So he went to that island thinking that it was already under his rule, misunderstanding fully that in fact was not under his rule because the islands don't share one common leader. Let's continue. The fighting techniques found in Eskrima or Arnis were passed down mostly through the lower class of society and verbally. Therefore, much of it was not recorded by way of writing. This way of passing knowledge down was beneficial when the Spanish ruler outlawed citizens from owning swords. However, with the decree outlawing swords, staffs and batons were brought back. This is the knowledge that was passed from generation to generation. It was a form of fighting focused on self-defense that could be used by any class of society, from farmer, peasant, or soldier. Some even theorize that modern-day cockfighting was brought about in the Philippines due to Spain outlawing various forms of martial arts. Hand-to-hand and armed combat were popular as spectator sports similar to Muay Boran prior to the colonial era. So there are federations and other organizations that today are trying to keep Eskrima and Arnis alive. And I think you can compete in it in the Southeast Asian Games, and they're trying to get it into the Olympics as well, is my understanding. Anyway, so if you're watching ONE Championship this week, make sure to check out the podcast I did with Kyle Diamond. That's a little bit of history of Muay Thai and Muay Lopburi, and how monks from the region of India traveled easterly and spread martial arts through all of Southeast Asia. But let's, of course, talk about the kickboxing great Rob Kaman passed away. Mr. Low Kick, Rob Kaman, passed away on March 31st at the age of 63. The Dutch-born Kaman is a kickboxing legend who has won several titles in both Muay Thai and various types of kickboxing in the 1990s. His style was influential for those that came after him. Rob Kaman, his seminars are still sought after today. There are lots of videos of him teaching how to low kick, and a lot of newer fighters don't realize that how important he was for the current style. So he was among the first people with the Mahiro gym in Japan to convert a style of Kyokushin karate to what we look at today as K1 style or Dutch style kickboxing. So, and of course, at that time that he was competing, kickboxing wasn't united under one set of rules as we have today, with K1 rules being mostly the universal set. There was a form of K1 rules when he was competing, but mostly he was full contact or Muay Thai or other styles of kickboxing. And Rob Kaman's style became so important that he now has the nickname of Mr. Low Kick. So he's one of the more important people in the history of kickboxing, and thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Hey, thank you so much for your time this week. Folks, the links for everything that I discussed will be down below, and referrals to other shows, that will be all down below. Folks, I really appreciate your time this week. We'll be back next week with post-fight breakdowns from all of these fights in the world of kickboxing and Muay Thai. Thanks so much for your time, folks.